The fate of hundreds of cyclone-damaged properties will be decided in the coming months. We find out what residents think of the possible buyout offers from the government. That conversation coming up next. Stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast. It is coming up to 6:15. Around 700 property owners whose homes have been battered this year by flooding and Cyclone Gabrielle will get the option to be bought out. Today, affected Kiwis looking to rebuild their homes and lives finally found out, well, that was yesterday actually, which category they're in. Category 1 covers low-risk properties, so homeowners can rebuild on the same site. Category 2, this is interesting, is managed risk, meaning flood management work is needed first. And Category 3 are high-risk sites considered unsafe to rebuild. The same steps are expected to begin for others flood-affected homeowners later this month. Well, joining us to discuss all of this in yesterday's announcement is Muriwai resident Caroline Bell and Luke O'Connell, whose house floated down the street in Esk Valley. Morena kia korua. Thank you both so much for being with us. Luke, can I start with you? And can you just remind us, I mean, I just said in the introduction that your house was floating down the river, but talk to us about the situation that you currently face.
Yeah, morena, Jenny.
Morena.
Yeah, for us it's a bit of a bittersweet pill. You know, we've obviously had clarity around the what category we lie in, but at the end of the day, it just brought home the fact that we have to leave our land, or they would like us to leave our land, or we have the option to leave our land. So that sort of takes any positive spin off it for us in the valley. We're all attached to the land pretty hard, and in our community, and yeah. I didn't think it would hurt us as hard as it did. Obviously, we realised we were going to be in Category 3. You know, it was no joke that you know, when the house dipped off down the river, yep, that we were gonna be in some sort of world of hurt here. So yeah, for us at the moment, we're just making sense of it all, and for the balance that have had their categories explained to them, I think that's raised more questions than answers. It's provided more questions than answers for the Cat 2 and Cat 1 people, because there's a lot of works to go on in place before they can actually start rebuilding and just living their lives back in their homes.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of mitigation stuff that has to happen if you're in Category 2, right? So you're Category 3, you don't have a house, but there is the land there. Is there an option to stay, or would you even want to stay, Luke?
We'd love to stay.
I know the want is there, but, you know, I mean,
yeah,
what happened?
Hey, look, I think there's a fair amount of shell shock just in my families. And no, I don't think we would end up living back there. We're actively looking for another house, another property at the moment. The best thing that could happen is we'd find one in the valley, or, you know, up around the ridges a little bit higher. But yeah, no, that's probably not the case.
Yeah. Luke, I appreciate you being here with us, because, you know, you only found out this information yesterday, so I know it's tough going, and I know that there was a hui last night in Bayview with other community members, and I want to come back and talk to you about that again shortly, and also what you hope you'll get out of this deal with the government and the local council as well. So I'll come back to you in a second, Luke, but I want to bring Caroline in here, Caroline Bell from Muriwai. So yesterday's announcement meant what for you?
Well, let's call it tentatively hopeful. We won't know in Muriwai the definition of our property until the geotechnical work has been finished.
So remind us again what state your property is in? So
personally, I had the council's reserve fall and fail and land on my house. My neighbours have all been inundated, so we have the risk, the imminent risk of the hill behind us, not our land, but the hill behind us falling onto our homes more.
So what did yesterday mean then? I mean, we've got some kind of certainty in the Hawke's Bay where they've been given categories 3, 2 and 1. What does that mean out in Muriwai for you and other residents?
Ultimately, more waiting because the council won't be able to define definitively until the geotechnical work is done, which gives them a scientific and a legal backing to the decisions that they need to make. We'd love to see, following on the footsteps of the Hawke's Bay Council, is at least some sort of preliminary outline of what category we may be in. We're adults. We know that it's not definitive,
yep.
but allowing us to maybe start some of the process, the emotional process, like Luke is being able to do now, would be something. Furthermore, in Muriwai, if we have to wait until September, there's a really strong risk that everybody will have run out of their personal resources to continue their mortgage payments and paying rent on top of that. So there is a real palpable risk of us foreclosing on mortgages and becoming bankrupt before the payout happens.
Now, you talk about September, knowing definitively or having a very clear idea about the categories of your homes out in Muriwai.
Yes.
The Auckland Council said yesterday from the Mayor's office that that process would begin in 2 weeks' time, that letters will be sent out to residents.
Yes.
So we've got June. So why are you saying September that you'll categorically know where things are at?
Essentially because what we've been told, unlike the flood victims who have visible damage, we're more about risk. And so in order to define that risk and for councils to definitively say you're out or you can stay and there's a way to mitigate this, they need to have that scientific and legal backing before they make those huge decisions. Remembering also that Muriwai is complex because we fall into an insurance loophole, because most of the community hasn't suffered damage per se. It's about the risk of the land failing. So insurance companies have been very quick to say there's no damage, we don't pay. So this is going to be, I would assume, more expensive for the government and the council.
Well, that was a conversation that's one of the announcements that Grant Robertson made yesterday, right, was the fact that they're still having those conversations with the insurance companies. Luke, I want to come back to you. You had that meeting in Bayview last night with other residents, with other community members. What came out of that?
Jenny, actually, like Caroline was just saying, there's still for those that are not just wiped out like we were, there's still a lot of answers to be had. Category 2, I feel for those guys. There's still a lot of work that has to be done in the background for them. For us in 3, it's pretty cut and dry. And the only question is, what is this buyout going to look like, and does it weigh up against our feel for the land and the people around it? So I think it was starting to give us a little bit of clarity and direction. It's definitely a good start. We don't expect a lot. The people making these decisions are also connected to us. We're a rather small community as far as the city goes. So they're doing the best they can as well, and we're working and collaborating with them with minor work parties and little committees and boards we've got going on in the background to try to best mitigate all the risks and give enough information to people so that they can get on with their lives.
When you're talking about parties involved, obviously you're talking about the council, because this is going to be a buyout between the government and the councils. We know the financial debt that our councils, many councils are in and find themselves in. So in terms of what kind of buyout or settlements that you're hoping for or expect, what does that look like, Luke? And I just wonder, because you don't have the house there and it's the land, and you talk about all the other things that are connected to the land, what is your hope?
Well, it's really hard to say, Jenny. The connection is the major part of it. It wasn't the house. The house is just stuff. The here in it's just stuff. I've got my family. There've been some people that haven't been so fortunate. So I'm not sure if you could put a dollar figure on it, really. I'm a minor landholder. We are a minor landholder in the scheme of things. We're one of the smaller blocks, but we're bang smack in the middle. But yeah, just that's where my family. That's where we started our family. Where my kids grew up, and the people around us are just super unique individuals. and we've got blood, sweat, and tears in that ground. So it's an unusual feeling, and I'm not sure. I don't know. You can't put money on it. It's like trying to put a price on your kid's head.
Luke, we thank you again for being with us this morning. I know it's a tough time at the moment, and so we so appreciate your presence here on the show. Luke O'Connell from Esk Valley. Caroline, I just want to come back to you just to wrap things up. So in terms of the council's process from this point onwards, what is your expectation? What are you hoping for?
Swiftness, honestly. Time is of the essence. Our community is heading for bankruptcy and foreclosures on our mortgage. So there's that. And if expediency isn't possible, then support financially in the interim from government, from council, just to help us tread water financially. And to refer to Luke's comment as well, for us, it's about a fair and equitable settlement, and what that may look like between what we think and what the government and council thinks is still to be discussed.
Caroline, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate it. Caroline Bell, both from Muriwai, and as I said earlier, Luke O'Connell joining us from the Hawke's